Good morning. Shalom, shalom. And actually, for those to whom are observing, Shabbat Shalom. So I have hopefully I'm going to try to keep it 1 half hour, very meaty little sewed level segment on the word on the Parsha today. So today it is known as Shabbat Zakhor. I wrote it down here. Did I write it down? Yes, Shabbat Zakhor. It represents the story from Deuteronomy 25, 17 through 19. So if you want, it's part of the Parshas, you can write that down and read it. It's the story of Haman. It's the story of actually Amalek and what Amalek represents, especially in the Shabbat before Purim, because next week is Purim on the Jewish calendar. And it's such a revelation to understand these festivals and how they cycle and how God's people are some in these similar cycles, or you could call it history repeating itself. But today we're going to talk about Amalek, and we're going to talk on a level. All right, this is what needs to be understood. Okay, my point of view, I teach the tree of life. I teach the mystical, the sewed level, okay, of exegesis that is built into the Torah, into the Hebrew scriptures, into the actual letters and the meaning, okay? So the level of understanding for this concept of Amalek, because it is it has like a whole theology wrapped around it. You cannot take it in the Peshat level. It is not meant, except for a historical character, but in terms of extracting its spiritual application, so to speak, in cycle after cycle after cycle, you must extract it on the spiritual level, which means you have to go back to the archetype, the original, how the prophets pulled that concept of who Amalek was and kind of tied it. They attached it to this theological understanding, okay? This is truly one of the most wicked branches of humanity on the planet. And this is the group. If you find yourself in this group, woe to you, because you are the wicked and your destruction is nigh. All right? Now, we are not talking about a people group. I am not talking about, well, actually, a definable in the sense of according to nationality or geographic region or name of your country or ethnic orientation, none of that. It's done by your fruit. That's how all spiritual, that's how all these things are tied into spiritual significance and understanding. What is the fruit? Does it have the same fruit as Amalek? Do you exhibit the fruit of Amalek? And if you do, then you are in this category of the wicked, and your end will be destruction. So the Bible is very clear about it. Because what we're talking about in this level, again, is what is known as the negative spiritual energies. In Jewish nomenclature, it would be called the Yetzer Hara, the other side, the part of us that is prone to and is can do and will do and has done evil, great evil. All right, that's truth and that's reality. That's what and that is the testimony of our Torah, a text. All right, but this one, it is important to understand this special Shabbat before Purim and to read this story and to extract for it. One of the things that's interesting in the history is that the Jews at this time, many were living in exile in Persia, in a land that was Persia kind of goes hot and cold in terms of their relationship with the holy people, let's just say. But they have housed, like many people have housed, always a seed line. They have tolerated the fruit of this remnant, this group, always within their midst, okay? And this will get rooted out, this behavior. But the one thing that understand in the history of Amalek, okay? Well, because there's like a lot of levels, we're talking about spiritual warfare on its highest level. And in order to defeat this enemy, you have to operate at the highest spiritual level. That's why in the sword of the spirit polemic, we're talking about the word of Elohim and the understanding and the using it with authority that cuts through, that actually gets results. It must be done with the spirit of Phineas. There is a righteousness, and Elijah was, this is why the tradition of Elijah comes out of the spirit of Phineas, this zealous even overzealousness, because sometimes you need such a correction, like where we are today. It's bottom line. The law's coming and the axe is going to get laid, you know, to the root of the tree, because it's just totally out of control. All right. So not today. I don't want to get too lost in this thing, but the thing about Amalek is, in the very beginning, they were the first people group of like-minded individuals who had collectively come together, I'm sure, for some kind of economy and, you know, in geography and all those things. But mostly it was, again, their fruit towards Israel. They were the first to come against Israel in the desert as they were beginning their journey from in Sinai across the desert to go into the promised land. And Amalek, through great deceit and stealth and basically total lawlessness. In other words, they did not come at Israel in a conventional way. Okay, you got a problem with your enemy crossing through your land, and your enemy, you know, doesn't want to back down. Okay, you might have confrontation, but that's not how they dealt with it. You know, might meet might or force, and you know, someone's going to have to back down. But the point is, they went and attacked and used methods of warfare that were totally outside of the bounds of like ethical or civilized, and they preyed on the weak, and they operated in great stealth, great hiddenness. All right, that's one of their attributes. All right, now let's just try, and again, I want to just say that this and this is what we call it, it's like a principality. It can become like a group think that gets so strong, and that this powerful, and it's a hatred. It's an energetic hatred that will just push through and consume, and at least a bloodshed, murder, and all these, you know, every evil work. Okay, this in the natural, and Amalek understanding what the bloodlines are doing, and they're tracing these spiritual roots that are producing fruit. Yeshua said, "You'll know them by their fruit." How do you think the rabbi sages have ways to track the fruit? Okay, and their fruit makes them known. And that's why, again, at the end times, the fruit, harvest, everything will come out. These concepts, they all relate. They're all painting the same picture. But it is time, but the two things takeaways right there real quick, because Israel was living, number one, in exile. The greatest majority of the people were exiled from the land, but it was right before the time of a great deliverer coming, and where they were going to go back and begin a phase of rebuilding the temple, a very strong spiritual act that was coming on the horizon. So of course it would be Amalek, or Satan would have stirred up some group, but this was an easy group. This group is descended from, actually, root words go back to Numbers. We're going to go back to Numbers 24:20, which is in the readings today. The first, Amalek is called the first among the nations to be judged, because they were judged at their time for what they did to Israel. But it says, but they will also be the last to be destroyed. So this really is the last problem, people, that the Torah, the law, bringing people's hearts into submission. And if you won't do it peacefully and willingly and by quote unquote obeying the law, all right, then there are options. That's what it's all about, okay? To rid this very wicked behavior from the earth so we can all live, this is the whole point, in a peaceable kingdom. I don't need these 3%ers, Luciferian, the Kabbalah. This is the seed of Cain. The root word of this goes back to the word that is from, it comes from the word Cain, Q, because it's a kuf. See, this is what gets confusing. In the Hebrew, the word is a K. It's a kuf. But in the translation, like in the Greek, it's coming out of Q. So, but it's Cain, Q-Y-I-N. We're talking about that also always genetically and inherently, and because their deeds are evil, would always marry into the lines of each other. And it goes through Esau. Esau married into this line constantly, their descendants. So when you get down to this guy Haman, at the time when the Jews are living in exile in the kingdom of Persia. Haman, he is the direct descendant of Amalek, and he has inherited the hatreds and the genes of his forefathers towards the Jews, which is an unfounded. The Torah makes very clear it's unfounded. It's like way over the top. Okay, basically Israel was asked just to go through their land. They wouldn't have pillaged, they wouldn't have done anything, and they're on a certain. That's us in a spiritual sense. We're just on a journey through this life. Just let us get through and get to the other side in one piece, please, without constantly through deceit and subterfuge and actual lawless to the point of some of the darkest things that mankind can do. This is how you treat us and attack us. Yes, you deserve to be destroyed. All right. And that is talking on the level, people, of that attitude, that level of behavior has to go if we're going to live in a peaceable kingdom. All right. And you also have to have the teeth of the law to enforce it against the lawless ones. All right. Now, let me just come back to some of this that, because we know that Esau, he is, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Some of these difficult, enigmatic verses are talking about this spiritual war that we're in. The descendants of the sons of darkness, Belial, and the descendants of the sons of Shem, of the name of God. Okay, there's this war going on. The Torah is totally clear about it. All right. So as Esau was kept marrying into this Cainite line, Balak, Amalek, and they become personified again because of real history. Nobody's making it up, as sort of this hatred for the Jewish and today and also Christian peoples, those who come under the banner of Yahweh Elohim, Yod He Vav He. So they exhibits itself anywhere in the world today where there is extreme anti-Semitism. All right, a lot of times, or just anti-Torah ethical living with people, like countries like China and North Korea that are so despotic and will torture and kill and harass and imprison anyone who disagrees with them. A kind of a government that is so relentless and unyielding, and he has all those characteristics. All right, this is sort of the spirit of Amalek. These people judge the fruit. All right, tolerance. The Torah teaches, and especially the mystical traditions, live at peace. As much as you're able within you, live at peace. And wisdom will give you, that's why Solomon will give you a way to settle disputes in a bloodshed way. I mean, that is truly what the testament of Torah is. He says, I will keep you at peace, perfect peace. Who's I? Yahweh. How do you do that? You follow his dictates, his laws, his ordinances, his wisdom, his judgments. Okay, so I want to go back to, like I said, you could go out with a lot of examples. And in today, these really are this 3% that we keep, people keep coming back to, in the sense that they will not let us live in peace. One of the root words is, and it gets back to how the wicked prey on the righteous. They live off us in a sense, and they do in a literal sense. They tax us, they regulate us, they're always looking to extract really what is our blessing and our birthright off of us, so they can live at ease and they can exploit us. This is a real attitude in people's hearts, and this is, that's why we have the law, to protect us. The law is for the lawbreaker, not for the law keeper. All right. But we're kind of losing this whole concept. We're tolerating in extraordinary extremes with clear evidence. And now we are getting very close to a totalitarian kind of regime where we are trying to shut down. We are allowing globalists into our government, and especially through bureaucrats and rulings where they are changing us, and changing our DNA at its very core in terms of the soul of America. It's crazy. People need to wake up and understand these Amalekites are doing to us just what they did in the beginning. All right. They are trying to keep us from reaching the promised land. I tell you. All right. But one of the more interesting things is it comes out of Babylon. See, there's a lot of words that support this whole, this word Amalek is also tied in with Babylon and, come out from her because she will receive a fiery judgment. This whole idea, and if you understand a little more in the mystical, the way the Hebraic words are coded, they definitely are referring to different levels of behavior, like levels of consciousness. So if your mind is full of evil thoughts where you're thinking, and that murder would be justified, and you can actually in your mind plot it and plan it. Okay, and in your soul life, where you can let such anger, rage, hatred, jealousy, whatever these things are, get the better of what should be rational behavior, judged by a rational mind. Okay, but what it says in the end times, that this is why I just love Torah. I love the word, because you can't make this stuff up. The way the way the letters and their meanings and the verses where they fall out, it has to be supernatural. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Okay, but there's a very famous verse in the story of Amalek, and it talks about how a star will come out of Jacob. Now, you have a star is used on many levels. Okay, obviously there's physical stars out there, Parashah, nobody's done, but the star is used because of its properties in a lot of ways, very spiritually. And many times a star represents two things. It represents a soul life. Okay, it says we're going to shine like stars. What's going to shine? I don't think I'm going to have this physical skin. Well, but I mean, my soul life, I am full of light. I will be, where the skin will be a thin, transparent, maybe veil again, go back to a very thin veil. And you will see the light that just lights up my whole being, the circuitry of Elohim. He is the light. I mean, these things are very real. Light beings. I mean, New Agers, forget it. You don't even, you pale in comparison to the deep understanding and the beauty that is in this from our Torah. But this star comes out of Jacob refers, and I did a teaching on this 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think you should try to catch it. I can't. Remember the adage is always as above, so below. And these two triangles that is depicted 100%, and that's what it's talking about. Recognize this. Star of David. Star of David, okay? It represents very specifically the shape, the geometric shape that you can make, the first total equilateral triangle you can make from right here, these 6 Sephiroth right here, okay? And it's done purposely. This is an area, it's the shield, it's the buckler, it's known as and we know it's the star, but one of the things just for David, the reason it's called the Star of David, okay, is because David wore it on his shield, his personal shield. We got to battle. He had a Star of David, and he was telling people this tree of life, this God who is functioning in this way that I understand, he is my shield, my buckler, my strength. He's my covering. He keeps me safe. Okay, so this star is going to come out of Jacob. That's exactly where it's coming from. Who else is doing this? The star, I believe, of Rephaim or whatever it is that people keep going, that's a 5-pointed star, totally missing the middle pillar, totally prone to chaos, everything about it, okay? So like I said, that video I did is really good. So no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the true Star of David, which is called the Magen of David. And this, and believe me, the people, see, so everything is connected to, so while there might be a symbol, a banner, it's connected to a group of people. I mean, this is my banner. Okay, I come under this banner. Do you come under this banner? The shield of David, he is the king. That's why this banner will be the emblem of the final Messiah ben David, who comes and conquers the last of these nations, which do not ever think biblically on their most profound and deep level that keeps us in peace. These are talking about physical nationalities. They're talking about energies inside of us that produce our actions. And our actions are either really rotten or they're really holy, or they're usually someplace, in the middle. Okay, we all better be on one. We're all going one way or the other. We're either going up and refining our character, or we're going down and we're making judgment and damnation be our future. I mean, that's the way the system, this whole Star of David system is rigged to do this, to weigh and permeate, to engrave, and to spit out judgment on just those things. Let me stop for 1 second because I want to do my own little infomercial here. Because I have gotten to the point now in studying wisdom and understanding at the highest level of Chokmah and Bina. I can read the charts of the ancients. I understand what they're saying, and they're brilliant, and they're pure, and they're holy, and they're giving us incredible information. And now I'm starting these classes, and I encourage you to check out. These are some of the new graphics, and each one of these I can absolutely biblically and archetypally show you is the absolute archetype, the Rosh, the head of our image, our spiritual allegories. And that's what I'm all about. So look at Facebook. There's tons of ways to get a hold of me and the ministry, the Elect Life, and we'll plug you in. This is going to be a very exciting class, and you'll have access to great charts and graphics. I'm being a very visual person, so I'm that's how I get my info. I got to see it to believe it. So this star of Jacob, this is what I want to say, has the authority and will, it says, it will smite the corners of Moab in the last days, because there's a prophecy of how this is going to, this shielded one, which is really this whole concept, the Star of David, and those that come under that protective covering will rise up and smite the corners of Moab and break down the sons of Seth. Okay, now that's one translation, but really and truly, oh my gosh, you've got to get into the Hebrew in this stuff. All right, but because it's almost funny sometimes. The sages, they actually do have a very tongue-in-cheek humor. I mean, they really are. Some of them were chuckling with each other. Like, okay, so this word is a terrible translation. It's not the sons of Set. Because for a minute, I was thinking, well, wait, are they talking about the sons of Seth? The first righteous son again of Adam after the whole debacle with Cain. No, it's a bad translation. It's the word of sh. It's a sh. The words of Sheth. It's an SH. Okay? Very important. Sheth. All right? Now, it is the number A351. And this is just another coded way of talking about the same people group, Amalek. They are the sons, okay, known as the sons of Seth, okay? And they live in the corners of Moab. Now, the reason Moab is important, because Moab, the descendants of Moab, teamed up with a lot of the Amalek, because you get the Amalekites out of it also. So there's a lot of intermarriage and interplay and interpower alliances going on with this group. So Moab, who was the oldest son of the daughter of Lot, and she created a race, or she perpetuated a line with Lot through an incestuous relationship. Not the best way to get started. All right, definitely bringing some negative energy into your bloodline. But those are other teachings. But anyways, this Sheth is a great word because it is really, what it means is translated as the buttocks. Okay, now you cannot, all right? You can't make this stuff up, all right, the buttocks. Now, if you knew your tree of life and your understanding of where the Sephir they're placed and what they're representing, the buttocks is an area right down in the belly, the lower belly, and what is there? There's two very important bodily systems that originate there. One is called procreation, is the phallus, is the reproductive organs, and the other is the waste products. So it's no accident. One comes in and one goes out. It's really interesting. All right, but this is a little negative. Saying you're part of the buttocks is you're the backside. Okay, you're obviously part of the waste product. These sons of Sheth, that's just what they're doing. They're making a correspondence, breaking this word down. And they are also known in these same translations. They're the sons of strife. They are the sons of tumult. Okay, order, disorder, chaos, instability, lawlessness. And they are noisy boasters. Is one of the, and now I just love that, because honestly, this is the point today. And this is why we need to rise up, people. The righteous need to roar like a lion, because these noisy boasters really do need to sit down and say, shut up. We have to draw a line in the sand. They are so unrooted in biblical behavior and Torah understanding. Light has no fellowship with darkness. That's the whole point. If you want to live in a society that is going to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and justice for all according to the law, then we have to exercise our firstborn right, which is to keep law and order in the house, so to speak. Ephraim, that's your job. Judah's always known that. They've always been known as the lawgiver. But Ephraim, we're grafted back into the exact same covenant. So what I'm saying is, this is a spirit today, and we need to deal with. Yes, I think that a lot of them are their top 3%ers. They're greedy. They practice magic arts. They're murderers. They're liars. I mean, this is the behavior. But there is a flip side where Ephraim is tolerating it. Just look at the entertainment media today, where people are just eating it. See, this is the point. You're ingesting it. You're ingesting it into your mind and your soul and spirit, and then you wonder why you have no strength. Okay? So, hey, on that note, we're to remember, but there is an antidote, and the Father does. And so now that we need to pray, we need to fast, we need to press in, and we need to just continue to do our righteous living. We are Sadiqs. We live according to a higher standard, and we need to live at peace with all men. So, hope you enjoyed that little parsing. It's a pesher of the scriptures, and shalom, shalom on you and yours.